Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Velya Dwiyanti. I'm a member of STBI 2017. In this occasion, I want to present the paper that I have written about the influence of Victorian fashion on Indonesian clothes. Fashion is a mix of styles with designs that can be chosen, accepted, liked, and used in society that will offer comfort and feel confident. Fashion is closely related to the style of clothes. Actually, fashion is not only related to clothing, but also something that is trending in society, such as entertainment, consumer goods, and others. Fashions always change along with the time, so it is same with clothes. Fashion called the characteristic of a nation. Therefore, every country or nation has a different fashion due to cultural and other differences. In globalization era, fashion in one country can be influenced by other countries' fashion because of cultural exchange. Indonesian clothes was influenced by other fashion, whether it's daily clothes, wedding dresses, and Muslim clothes. Many designers are combined several styles from other fashion into their clothes design, such as Korean style, Arabic style, Japanese style, Victorian style, and others. In Victorian era, clothing was used as an expression of women in society according to social class. Upper-class women wear skirts decorated with many embroideries and trims, upper layers of skirts and corsets with tight straps. Fabrics with many layers, such as skirts worn by upper-class women, show their wealth, while the middle-class women wear almost the same clothes, but the decor is not wasteful. There are some typical elements of Victorian fashion. Number 1 is neckline Bertha. Neckline Bertha is a low neckline worn by women in the Victorian era. The design shows a woman's shoulder and there are 3 to 6 inch less folds. This design is only used by upper and middle class women. Number 2 is boning corsets. Boning corset is a staple of Victorian style. Corsets used in women's dresses to form a woman's waist so that it is smaller and fashionable. In addition, corsets used to give the illusion of larger breasts and curved hips. By wearing corset, they will look beautiful when using silhouettes. However, the use of corsets has been restricted and not approved because it causes various diseases. Number 3 is sleeves. Tight arm design accompanied by a more drooping shoulder so the line makes women's movements limited. However, as crinolines evolved in fashion, the design of the sleeve changed like a large bell. This makes the dress volume heavier. Under the arms, there are engagements generally appear under the dress and made of linen and lace. Number 4 is silhouettes. Silhouettes change based on the evolution of underwear. Initially, women used crinoline weighing 14 pounds to form a skirt like a beehive using 6 layers of skirts under the major skirt. After that, crinoline begins to develop so the women are more free to move. Silhouettes are also used and titled towards the back of the skirt and which is commonly called the polonaise style. Number 5 is mourning black. In England, black is the color associated with mourning for the dead. Usually, the closer the relationship, the longer the use of black clothes. Full black wear is known as first mourning, which is worn for 4 to 18 months. After the first mourning period, mourners will advance to the second mourning and followed by ordinary mourning, then half mourning. Some stages of mourning are shortened if the relationship of the person who is in mourning with the deceased is further. Half mourning is a transition period when black is replaced by acceptable colors such as lavender in accordance with the clerical tradition of the Church of England. The black dress was worn by Queen Victoria at the time of her husband's death, Prince Albert, until her own death. Number 6 is wedding dress. Queen Victoria's wedding dress is white and made of silk satin. In addition, orange flowers are added as a symbol of fertility. Queen Victoria also wore a veil that was 0.75 meters wide with bouquets and tiaras on it. The back of the wedding dress is 5.5 meters long. 1830s. At the beginning of the reign of Queen Victoria, 1837, the ideal form of a woman's body was a slim body and broad hips. Therefore, women use corsets. Under the corset is usually a mechanism to prevent exposure. 1840s. In the 1840s, women's dress styles had characteristics such as a low neckline, elongated V-body, and a fuller skirt. At the beginning of the decade, low and narrow waist still popular. Corset used is a heavy-boned corset. Long skirt and horsehair crinoline were widely used in 1847 and became a symbol of wealth. Besides using crinoline, they also used several layers of skirts to increase the volume and color of their skirts. The 1840s style was considered conservative and Gothic compared to the flamboyant style of the 1830s. 1850s. The same silhouette remained in the 1850s while some clothing elements changed. The neckline of dress dropped lower to the V shape, causing camisette needed to cover the breast area. Evening dresses wear bertha, which really opens the shoulder area. The sleeves are more open and the volume increases. Meanwhile, corsets begin to extend above the hip. 1860s. In the mid-1860s, crinoline was reduced at the top, but still expanded at the bottom. Crinoline becomes flatter on the front and thicker on the back. In 1868, the skirt was not very inflated, but the crinoline retained the volume at the back accompanied by folds of the skirt. 1870s. In the 1870s, wide skirt strands slowly disappeared because women began to prefer a slimmer silhouette. Corset remains at the natural waistline, neckline varies while arms start below the shoulder line. Above the bodice, there is an upper skirt tied on the back. 1880s. In early 1880s were periods of varied styles. Some people are amazed by the change in silhouette on clothes that consists of two movements: the aesthetic custom movement and rational clothing movement, which are characterized by natural silhouettes like clothing and a corset that is too tight. However, this movement didn't have broad support. Others argue that changing fashion should make it easy for the wearer. 1890s. In 1890s, crinoline was not used. The skirt develops bell-shaped and is made more fitting around the hip area. Clothing has a high neckline and peaks at the shoulders. But in 1894, the peak at the shoulder grew large that and needed a pad to shape it. Then, women adopted the style of a jacket that reflected to women's freedom standards. However, the current trend of clothing is able to change Muslim clothes into extraordinary clothes. This is due to the influence of other fashion, one of which is Victorian fashion. Ruffles, frills, and high collar accents remains a reference for designers. For example, Herman Wari, one of the designers from Bandung, consistently used Victorian details in his designs. Romantic impression is raised through the puff accent, multi-layer technique, and extravagant style, which was the main characteristic of fashion in the era. Indonesian wedding dresses are diverse. Initially, Indonesian brides used the traditional wedding dress according to their respective regions. Along with the development of fashion, wedding dresses changed. The bride not only wears traditional clothes but wears a white dress. In Indonesia, the white color of the wedding dye is very close to the religious procession. For example, the procession of Islamic marriage contract and blessing in Christianity, which is identical to the kebaya dress or white dress. As for the customary procession, brides usually wear clothes in accordance with their respective customs. The colors are often not white. The trend of wearing a white dress on the wedding day was actually spearheaded by Queen Victoria in mid-19th century, precisely when she married Prince Albert. Since then, all over the world, white has become a custom in wedding ceremonies, including in Indonesia today. Okay, that's all about the influence of Victorian fashion on Indonesian clothes. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.